Okay, everybody, so we're here. We're going to start the demonstration. I don't know if we'll go through all 6 turns, but we're going to do what we can. It's 400 points versus 400 points based on the build. Again, comes straight from the Band of Brothers set. And add anything to, as far as miniatures are concerned. Some of the player aids I do add to, right? So we have those 8 order dice, 4 of each, representing the 4 organizations. They go inside the bag. Shake up the bag. And it works on a random pull situation, so you never know who's going to go first, who's going to go next, and that's how you trigger things. So the first up is the Americans. In this situation, the Americans are going to approach from this way, attempting to secure these 2 objectives, and the Germans will approach from here, attempting to stop them. So on the order dice, we have all these different options on it. So we have run, advance, rally, down, ambush, and fire. If I elect to fire, I get no penalties. I stay still, I shoot. On the advance, I get to move up to half their maximum, or their advance distance, which for infantry is 6, for the half track is 9, and I can still shoot. I take a -1 penalty for the Germans. The Americans do not, because of their special rule. On a run, I can run up to 12 inches, pending obstacles and stuff in the way, which narrows me down to an advance. And then my half track can run up to 18 inches. The ambush order, I don't shoot, I stay where I am, and then suppose I'm here facing this way. If an enemy unit crosses, I can stop them in the open area, engage them. If pins are scored, the unit stops, they take their wounds, things of that nature. Rally, if we take up pins, which you'll see are very potent later on, depending on how it goes in the scenario, we have the option to do nothing and attempt to remove those pins. We have the down order, which puts us down, makes it a little bit harder. It makes it a +2 to the hit factor, right, or a -2 to your dice roll, depending on how you want to look at it. And that was all of them, right? If not, we'll figure it out as we go. So the game's set up. First die out was the Americans. Because I don't necessarily want the Germans to know everything I'm doing, I'm going to take that rifle squad, and we're going to move that rifle squad in. We're going to attempt to maneuver towards one of these objectives. Now, running in right into the objective, probably not a good scenario or idea for me, but we're going to do it anyway. Right? So we're going to start at the edge of the board, and we're going to try to run into L. So there's no pre-measuring for engagements and stuff. You have to declare your targets and everything, but generally, commonly, friendly games, whatever you acknowledge, hey, I'm trying to get here, you can measure in your 12 inches. I'm well within my 12 inches for here. I'm not crossing through the turn, I'm actually going like that, but I want to get behind the cover. So I'm going to slap my BAR down and place my infantry. Now, in a competitive game, you want to make sure that when you place your infantry, that they have a 1-inch gap between the unit, or the soldiers within the unit, and then no unit can be within 1 inch of each other. Here there's no HE, so it becomes less dangerous, so we can kind of pack up a little bit. But if you do build it with the Pack 36, you want to make sure, because then you'll start putting templates down. When you start putting templates down, and you hit, everybody under the template stands a chance for being punished. And we'll do a separate thing just about HE if you do build it that way. But in this scenario, I intentionally don't do that because HE kind of slows it down and can complicate it. Competitively, I just give the HE token, whichever one I'm going to use, to my opponent, and I ask them how many they can fit underneath, and it avoids that whole argument thing. So we go right back to the bag, and you'll notice if they're being viewed from this side, they're going to get the light cover, and if they're being viewed from here, between the 2 terrain features, they should roll up into cover, unless the enemy for some reason was come to here. And the next one out of the bag is German. So the Germans don't really have too many options. They got to get to one of these objectives, so they're going to all out run towards this wall. And so, a 12-inch, I'm moving terrain here, and they're going to run. Some folks will like to put their order down, and maximizes where your 12-inch marker is, and I'll let you know. You get a good safe limit. So placement of the individuals, like this is the squad leader with the assault rifle, placing him closer to the enemy. There's no rule that says you have to do that. And most gamers will do it instinctively because they want to maximize that shorter range. So next order die out. German again. Getting dangerous for the Germans because now the Americans are starting to learn their plan ahead of time. So I'm going to rush up a 12-inch run again with my lieutenant team. Again, this team has to be at least 1 inch away from another infantry team. Now I'm going to place them down on the run. Now these markers, they identify a unit's already gone, so that if someone does shoot at them, I can't declare I'm going down now because I've already activated. So it's important to place in there. And they're also victory tokens, depending on how your scenario is going for attrition. So the next one out is the Americans. We're going to maintain the same trend that we were doing. We're going to see if we can move up now. Depending on how you classify this terrain, it can be classified as open or some sort of rough terrain. We're going to play it as rough terrain. So my troops are moving up at 6 inches. And I'm just trying to get up onto the top. So I'm putting them on advance orders. Now if it had trees or something on it, maybe it would be some sort of cover. But in this case, it's just a terrain feature. Nothing special. Then head back in the bag and grab another one. Now it's 2-2 again, so we're kind of balanced on power. Next out is German. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab that trusty half track. We're going to cruise in from over here. I'm going to advance in 9 inches. And I'm going to shoot this squad. So the half track rolls 9 inches. Gets me to here. I'm on an advance order. And I'm going to fire at that squad. Now, this light cover is not interfering because my gun platform and everything is over this light cover. These guys are out in the open. My maximum range is 36 inches from the bumper, the front. Any adjacent point of the vehicle, it doesn't really matter, right? It's not from the weapon system itself. So I'm well good. My half range is 18 inches though. So I have a -1 for being at long range and a -1 for moving. Having Hitler's buzzsaw, my medium machine gun gets 6 dice. So everything hits on a base of 3. But I moved, so now it's a 4 to hit. And then I'm over half range, so it's a 5 to hit. You notice on your first 1, 2 to 3 turns, you're hitting on 4, 5, 6s, 5s and 6s, 6s, 6s on 6s, which is a 7+. It's hard, but it can sometimes create a pin. So again, we moved on in long range, so base of 3, +1, +1, I'm hitting on 5s. So in there, did really good. 4 hits, above average. Because of that, they take a pin. Now in order for them to do anything else, they're going to have to take leadership checks, morale checks, depending on casualties and things of that nature. Now everybody is veteran, so I need 5 pluses to kill anybody, but because I got 4 hits, I'm only rolling for 4 wounds, or 4 kills. And I got 3, but one of them was a 6. So this 6, I pick up the same die. A lot of people grab other dice, so it's the same die. And I roll again. If I had scored a 6, I would get to pick their casualty. But because I did not, they get to pick any 3. Now when doing this, you generally want to pick 3 troops that are not critical to this squad. But as this squad was placed, the NCO is here and the BAR is here. So taking any 3, if I take the NCO, I get a -1 to my leadership for the rest of the game. If I take the BAR, I'm losing firepower. But if I go like this and I take these 3, you'll notice I broke the 1-inch gap. So my next turn, I will be forced to attempt to move. You forcing your enemy to take an advance order because they have to get back to 1-inch consolidation within each other. So it's pretty effective for me to take 3 casualties off. This is a super good round of shooting right there, by the way. I'm back in the bag. Next die, that was 2 Americans and 1 German. And the Americans go. And now the Americans know where the half track's committed, so they're feeling a little more comfortable with what the plan is. They see the machine gun team out there, they're going to rush forward their assault squad down this way. So 12 inches is as far as they can run. It's on the run order. I put it at the end of it so I know I can go anywhere behind. Again, that's just a technique, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Putting my submachine guns to the front because they're shorter range, and I get to pick casualties anyways, so I can pick them from the back. And we go right back to the bag, 1 to 1. Last one out is the Americans. All they got left is their lieutenant. Knowing that these folks are pinned, knowing that they're Russian, I'm going to place my Americans over here, but they're just going to run in. Now I'm running, but I'm only moving like 7 inches because I have to stay an inch behind, and there's a couple of things I want to go on. They're going to be able to give these folks here a bonus, so hopefully make sure we remove that pin, and then if this squad takes some pins on the beginning of the next turn, they'll be able to help usher them on to the objective. And then the last dice out we know is the Germans. The last element is actually in this half track. Had I ran with this half track, I wouldn't be able to dismount. But because I advanced, I can still get out, and I can do whatever I gotta do. So we're gonna jump out of the half track. I can, in this case, I'm going to advance out of the half track and get my troops online here. So from the vehicle itself, I'm going to measure out my 6 inches, right? Put them on an advance order because the advance order will allow us to move and shoot. This is about where my extent of my movement is. I'm going to put my troops behind this light cover. Trying to stay out of the arc there. I'm going to blow through our fence anyway, so I don't have to worry about the 1 inch gap when I shooting my friendlies here. Because I'm going to shoot right through it. So I'm here. This is a great target for me, but their maximum range is 18 inches. And I already know from shooting this that it was over 18 inches to get to the squad, so I'm going to attempt to shoot this squad. So all of them 18 inches, rolling 2 dice. They're assault rifles, they moved, they don't get a -1 modifier for movement. There's no modifier for the cover here because they're pressed against it. However, there is cover here, in which case they'll get that -1 attached to me to shoot. And 18 inches. All of my squad can reach someone in their squad at 18 inches. They can't go down because they've already activated. However, they do get the -1 because more than 50% will be blocked behind there. So I get a -1 for range, a -1 for the light cover again. And because I have 5 assault rifles, it's 10 dice, down 5 pluses. Again, for the range and the cover. No penalty for their movement because they're assault rifles. So we're rolling super good here. So that's 6 hits. Again, veterans, taking 1 pin, needing 5 pluses to kill. 2 6s, which could be exceptional. I just flipped one of those, and 2 regulars. So they'll get to choose 2. If I roll 2 6s again, then I get to pick. Or 1 6 would have done. But these are the 4 kills that they have to pick from that squad. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to take 4 riflemen out. Now what we just did was we forced one of the first actions. This squad took more than 50% of their casualties in 1 turn. So they have to take a check to see if they're going to stay in the game. Their leadership is a 10. So in a normal situation, if they're asked to check, they'd have to roll a 10 or less on 2 dice. Because they have 1 pin, it modifies this with a -1, so they need to roll a 9 or less. So the more pins you stack, 3, 4, 5 pins, they become virtually useless. So I need a 9 or less on 2 dice, or else they fail and they run away in this case. Now when I try to give them an order test on the next turn, if I pass the order test, it will remove a pin and they'll be able to fight as normal. If they fail, they just go down. That's the difference between a morale test and a orders test. So in this case we get a 7, so they stay in the game. Again, if I had rolled a 10, 11, 12 in that situation, they would have failed and the unit would be destroyed. It would flee off the game, the pin would go, the 3 soldiers would go, and the order dice would be taken off the table, reducing the Americans by 1 order die. So now we're going to roll into turn 2. We pick up all the order dice. Order dice go back in the bag. And generally you pass it to your opponent and they get to control the momentum as it is. First out is Germans. So with my Germans being as awesome as they're going to be in this game, we're going to attempt to advance this squad here. 6 inches into the obstacle terrain here, the hard cover as you will. Everybody will move in 6 inches. This is just a cheap plastic marker, but it's exactly 6 inches, so it helps you speed up the game. You can use rulers, tape measures, whatever you want here. We're going to put them at the advance. This squad, a little more complicated than a normal squad because of the mix of weapons. So we're going to fire into this squad that we haven't touched yet. So I have a loader who's not going to fire because he's busy loading the light machine gun, which is 5 dice. No assault rules. A loader with a light machine gun, again 5 dice, no assault rifle, or no assault move. And then my NCO with an assault rifle. So there's a few ways you can do this. You can take 2 different dice to represent the different weapon systems. Say that's the assault rifle, and then you can take the 10 dice for the light machine gun, because sometimes the modifiers will make it be different. For example, we moved, so they get a -1. The light machine guns minimum range is 18 inches, well within our 18 inches, right? And again, we don't get to measure until we declare the unit we're firing on, but we said here the max is 36. Now my assault rifle, his minimum is 9. He is just in his minimum, but for purposes of this I want to make sure to put him, alright, actually it won't matter because of the modifiers, so we're going to leave him where he was. Everyone is well within their minimum. So my assault rifle is the red dice, 2 dice for that one assault rifle. Movement, no penalty. Under minimum range, no penalty, 2 dice. So we're hitting on base value of 3. My light machine gun, 1 and 2, moved, gets a -1 penalty. Well under range, no penalties. So it's hitting on 4s. 3s, 4s. We should get at least 1 pin here. If not, eradicating the squad. So a 2 and a 4 means my NCO got 1, which is good enough to give us a pin on that squad, right? With at least 1 hit. And then my LMGs needed the 4 pluses, where I only get 3. So all total I got 4 hits. They're a veteran, we need 5 pluses to kill. And we only got 1. So the opponent would pick, because it wasn't exceptional, and they're going to pick this rifleman in the back. He was slower than everybody else. And the hand goes back in the back. Next out is the Americans. So we're gonna try some of those forcing actions we talked about. Before I go trying to charge in there, right, I'm gonna want to put down a little bit of suppressive fire. So because my LT is here, this squad gets a +1 to their ability to check. They do it for morale, they can do it for leadership, orders test, all that good stuff. So I'm going to attempt to advance them and lay some suppressive fire, because again, I'm American, I don't get penalties for moving, and I want to keep pushing towards the objectives. I could choose to sit there and just recap, but I want to get towards that objective, and I want to get within my 1-inch coherency again anyways. So we're going to put it on advance. I'm going to grab my little cheater stick for 6 inches. Make sure that everybody's within that 6, so Drown will be there. My lieutenants here, they're veteran. Those are the key factors. 1 pin. Base value of a 10, needing to pass their leadership check. But I got 1 pin, which makes it a 9, but my lieutenant's here, which gives me a +1. If my lieutenant was a first lieutenant, it would give me a +2, captain, major, it goes up from there. So I get 2 dice. Normally I would need a 10, down to a 9, back up to a 10. So 10 or less, they pass. The pin is removed. Had this pin not been removed, I'd still get a -1 when I shot. They ruined everything from there. So they're going to advance forward. Again, keeping my 1-inch distance here. And they're going to fire into this squad. So I have a submachine gun, rifle, BAR. 2 dice, up to 12. 1 die up to 24. 2 dice up to 30. We're going to fire into this squad. They're in a hard cover, giving them a 2. I get no modifier for movement. I'm within my 12 inches, but over 6 to everybody in that squad. So he's getting a -1 for range. Well within 12, so no -1 and no -1. And so similar to what happened with the German squad when they went, my submachine gun is hitting on 4s. My 2 rifles are hitting, my bad, I apologize, because of the hard cover. So he advanced. It's short range, so no movement penalty because they're Americans. It's over short range, over half range, so a -1 for range, -2 for hard cover. So base of 3 minus 3 makes it hit on 6s. My rifles and BAR, no movement penalty, no range penalty, hard cover penalty, hitting on 5s. Again, 2 dice for the rifles and 2 for the BAR. So the reds I need 6s, whites I need 5s. And only the rifles and BAR pull. But it's a pin, and pins are extremely critical in the game. So the pin goes on the squad. Chance to kill 2 of these veterans, which is a 5+. I hit at least 1 is dead, but if I roll 6 on this 6 again, then it's critical and I get to pick. Doesn't happen, so the German player would get to pick. Gonna remove an ammo barrier. Now, removing an ammo barrier to a light machine gun gives just this light machine gun a -1 to its future firing. Kind of critical. I could remove the NCO, but I already have a pin, and then things could be bad later on, so I don't want to go that route. Hand goes back in the bag. Next eye out is Germans. We're going to attempt to move this squad. Again, the LT is here, so we need to take that orders test on 2 dice. Normally they need a 10, but 1 pin brings it down to a 9. The LT is there, brings right back to a 10 or less. They just pass. The order dice, the pin is removed. Now I could attempt to charge, and we could fight simultaneously over this obstacle. It's not a really good idea, and I probably should have declared what the order was before I tested. So we're going to advance and shoot, because I didn't. So we're going to advance 6 inches. Moving my whole fire team up, because what I'm trying to do is, before we show you close combat, show you something else. And I'm going to shoot into the squad. Now the squad is within 6 inches of every one of my weapon systems, so I get a +1 to hit. I still get a modifier for negatives, but I wanted to show you the +1 to hit because now we're danger close. We're in that super short range. So it's also my assault squad, which means it has 1, 2, 3, 4 Thompsons, which is giving me 8 dice total, and then it has the still remaining 2 rifles, which gives me 2 more dice. No movement penalty because of the American special rule. Hard cover, give him +2 to my roll. So went from a base of 3 to now a 5, but then I get a +1 for that short range, so I'm hitting on 4s. If I hadn't been given an order, I could go down. That's not the case. So all these rounds hitting on 5s. And it should have been way better than that, but we got 1, and every 1 counts, right? The odds should have been super high by that. So it picks up another pin. Now, if your pins are clear and painted, you can have it to where there's just the 1 pin marker and cross it to the 2s, or you can do generally what I do slightly faster and just put a die down that symbolizes there's 2 pins on there. But if you have enough of these pins sitting around, you can just dump 2 pins on. And because they're veterans, they need a 5+ to kill. And I don't kill anyone, but it's got 2 pins on it. Back in the bag. Next up is Germans. Things are starting to look grim for the Germans. Starting to look grim. So what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to advance this half track into this general vicinity and fire onto this squad. Now I could stay still and fire without a penalty in my 90-degree arc. This is probably a better idea. But I need a 1-inch gap for my element firing here, so I'm moving no matter what. So they're in the open, we're going to advance, and I'm going to shoot for a couple reasons. I want to advance and then make sure to move my infantry back up and utilize myself as some cover. So what we're going to do is, because this is a minor obstacle, we're going to advance up to our 9 inches. Just about here, but I don't need all that. And we're going to fire into this squad. So again, my short range is 18 inches, well within that. Maximum range being 36. Place them on the advance, and they're going to fire into the squad. 6 dice. Squad's in the open. I got a -1 for movement, and that's it. So 6 dice, hitting on a 4. I just hit 4 times. So it places a pin right back on the squad. I'm killing on 5s. I only get 1. If I roll that 6 again, it's exceptional. I did not, they get to choose. They're going to pick off a rifleman. And the dice go back in the hand, back in the bag. And it's the Americans. What we're going to do is we're going to try to keep this squad that's on the objective pinned up so that we can have our freedom to do whatever we want to do. Plus it's one of the few things, we're not going to do it. For purposes of teaching, we're going to fire at this half track. So no movement, we're just firing. Submachine gun, BAR rifle. Submachine gun max range 12, everything's within there, right? So The rifle's over half range. It's firing at a -1. BAR and rifle are not, so they're firing at their normal base 3. So my submachine gun needs a 4. The BAR and rifle need 3s. The red dice is the submachine gun. So the BAR and rifle hit, which causes a pin on the half track. There's no need to roll to kill because those weapons can't kill the half track, but because it's open, they can pin it, which will make it harder to do anything else in the future. Back into the bag. Next one is Germans. These fellas here are already pinned up pretty bad. I need to get in there and help them. So we're going to attempt to move this way. Not attempt, we're going to do it because I'm not pinned. We're going to roll them around 6 inches. They are assault rifles, so I'll put them on advance. And they're going to fire into this American squad here. Note they're point blank. So I'm getting a +1 to hit. 4 dice. No movement penalty because it's assault rifles. Within 6 inches, so I get a +1. So I'm hitting on 2s on 4 dice. They cannot go down because they've already activated an order die. And somehow I missed 2. No, that's possible. But that's 2, which causes a pin. Possibly slow down their assault into my squad. And 5 pluses to kill. I get 1. They choose a rifleman. Riflemen are great to keep around. Let your NCO stay alive unless you get that exceptional damage. Let your machine gunner stay alive. Again, unless you get that exceptional damage. Next out is Germans. We're feeling that pressure. Now I have this obstacle in front of me, so if I go this way, I'm going 6 inches. The obstacle being the fence. If I go the other way, I'm going 12 inches. I could run up to 12 inches. I'm going to try to keep the pressure. We're going to keep advancing this way. Close enough to respond to that, so we're going to advance 6 inches. Puts me approximately here. And we're going to jump the whole squad. Again, if there was HE templates and stuff, I wouldn't be doing this because you could get all 5 of me with 1 HE. I'd make sure I had my perfect little 1-inch distance. But if the enemy has no HE, go for it. Use every bit of cover you can. All of them have assault rifles and Panzerfaust. I'm not firing Panzerfaust, but I am going to fire my assault rifles at this element here. All of them over half range. I moved, no penalty on the assault.